Welcome to the Money Smart for Adults, Module 9, Using Credit Cards. We're going to go through this instructor guide and highlight how you can facilitate this training. As in all other modules, it starts out here with a contents page, giving you all the information relating to this module listed by section and page number so that you know exactly where to find things here. Background information for instructors, as with other modules, is exactly the same. Starts out with a reference to the tools you'll be using to deliver the training, including the guide to presenting Money Smart for Adults. The training preparation checklist is to make sure that you have everything that's going to equip you to have a successful training. Materials that you may need, as in other modules, this is a checklist of all that you're going to need to deliver the training, including the instructor guide, participant guide, PowerPoint slides. Now, regarding the participant guide, if it's a challenge for you to give copies to everyone in your training, please refer them to the online version or some other solutions that may be appropriate. Optional materials such as the parking lot for questions and supplies for any optional introductory activity that you may be doing should be on hand. Understanding the icons, this section is the same as in all other modules in the Money Smart for Adults training. You can reference them here as a refresher if you need to. The module purpose is to help participants to understand how credit cards work and how to manage a credit card. So the module also includes reviewing important credit card terms, explains the importance of comparing credit cards, and explains how to read a credit card statement. Now, please note, there are several modules in Money Smart for Adults that cover topics relating to debt and credit. So you may want to include parts of these modules in your training, such as Module 6, Credit Reports and Scores, Module 7, Borrowing Basics, and Module 8, Managing Debt. The module at a glance table lists the sections, the key takeaways, the purpose objectives, and the time estimates all laid out here for you. Please refer to the guide to presenting Money Smart for Adults, which includes additional information on selecting sections for specific audiences so you can further customize your training. Now, it's estimated that you're going to need 1 hour and 50 minutes to cover the entire module, not including the breaks or optional introductory activity. In addition to that, if you did happen to include content from module 6, 7, or 8, this is going to obviously extend this out if you're training the entire module. But again, please refer to the guide to presenting Money Smart to really figure out how you're going to customize the training for your audience. Here's the module opening. There are facilitation prompts throughout this entire module. The prompts are say, ask, do, show, slide. Whenever you see those are your prompts for you to actually perform those things at that moment in the training. All right, so let's get into the module opening and showing slide number 1. As in every module for the Money Smart for Adults training, you're going to complete a few tasks, such as welcoming participants as they arrive, introduce yourself, ask them to sign in, ensure any requested reasonable accommodations are in place, and make any necessary adjustments. And once you're ready to begin the training, ask participants to complete the pre-training survey, and you'll also be showing slide number 2. Now, parking lot and participant guide. You want to establish a flip chart poster for the parking lot and inform participants it's for questions, concerns, ideas, and resources that you'll address during breaks or at the end of the training. Mention that the participant guide is theirs to use during and after the session, and encourage them to take notes and write in them. And if time permits, start your training with an optional introductory activity. I highly recommend that you do this, as it's a great way to get participants energized and ready to learn. You'll find suggestions for fun activities in the guide to presenting Money Smart for Adults, or you can use your own. Section 1, how credit cards work. The objectives: participants will be able to explain how credit cards work, define important credit card terms, choose a credit card based on their needs. Let's pause for a moment to point out some helpful navigation features of the instructor guide. There's helpful information in the headers and footer that will help you stay oriented. In the header, the right-hand side reminds you that you're looking at the instructor guide. This is helpful if you happen to also consult a copy of the participant guide during your training. The left-hand side of the header identifies the section you are in. The footer of the document identifies the module along with the page number. Introduction to section and key takeaway. Slide 3, you're going to be introducing this section topic. Slide 4, you're going to move into the key takeaway for this section. Know how credit cards work so you can more effectively shop around for one that meets your needs. After the key takeaway, you're going to show slide 5, which is a question that you're posing to the training participants. What do you know about credit cards? Write the responses on the flip chart or the whiteboard and just really engage the discussion. Then you're going to show slide number 6, which is what is a credit card, and you're going to give them the definition of the credit card in terms of what's written there, the credit limit, what that's all about, the minimum payments. Then slide 7 is credit cards as an important financial tool, and you'll give them the points about that. Slide number 8 goes into cards that are not credit cards and the different types that are there. You'll list those, you'll talk about those, and then slide 9, you'll introduce the Truth in Lending Disclosure. Now that is the Federal Truth in Lending Disclosure, or TILA. It's a written disclosure that creditors must give prospective credit card customers. It contains important rate and fee information. So you're going to want to spend some time going through that, which is going to segue into rates and fees. And so showing slide number 10, you'll get into the APR, or the annual percentage rate. Cash advance and reading the cardholder agreement are all elements of this particular discussion here on this slide. There is another term that participants may not be as familiar with, and that's a penalty APR. Please emphasize that, and you'll see the bullet point here on page 15 at the top of your instructor guide, and it gets into what a penalty APR is. I think that's going to be great conversation and great information for participants to know. Then, of course, the interest rates being fixed or variable depending upon the type of card and what the creditor terms are for that card. And, of course, variable interest rates, explaining what that is and how they change more frequently. Slide number 11, low introductory APRs or teaser rates. You'll explain information about that, which is going to set us up for having a conversation and discussion about credit card fees, which is the first activity for this section. You're showing slide number 12. You're asking them to turn to page 6 in their participant guide, and they are looking at the sheet that has the fees listed on the left side column, and they're going to see the definitions on the next page, which are numbered, and what they have to do is simply look at the fee and match it with the numbered definition. That's it. Give them about 5 minutes to do that and then have a discussion. Now, once you do that, you have an answer key here on the bottom half of page 16, and it also goes on the top of page 17. You're going to be having a discussion going through the fees and these descriptions with the training participants. Slide number 13 gets into rewards. Credit cards that offer cash rebates, what's needed to qualify for them. In addition to that, there is a prompt for a question about thinking about whether or not rewards will cause participants to overspend. There's an example here. It says if a card offers a reward if you spend at least $2,000 on it, and in the first 90 days you're not planning to spend that much, it's likely not a good fit. So you want to have that discussion with the training participants, because some of them may be tempted to go for the reward, overspend, and that could cause some challenges down the line. So you want to just have a discussion about that. I think that's a great bullet point since you're on the subject, and I'm glad that it's in there. In addition to this, considering the fees and, of course, the encouragement to shop around, since rewards and how you qualify them vary from card to card. Slide 14 goes into other important terms. Slide 15, the grace period. Slide 16, balance computation method. This is also a place where you may want to spend a bit of time with your participants to make sure that they understand the various computation methods here that's listed. There also may be additional products and services that credit cards offer for you to choose from: payment protection, credit protection, those kinds of things, credit monitoring programs, and of course, the encouragement to review credit reports. And by the way, Module 6, Credit Reports and Scores, includes detailed information about ordering credit reports. So again, you may want to refer to that, or again, include that in this training to help your participants really understand that. Additional products and services may be offered are optional. So again, making sure participants know that all of these things are what is to be considered when choosing a credit card. This leads us into our try it activity, choosing a credit card, where we have Siddharth, who is a web designer who's looking to actually get a credit card. There's information on details about him that may be important in terms of characteristics that he has, so that he can really think about how to match himself up with the right card. And so you want your training participants to go through that and then discuss what should Siddharth consider. The apply activity for this section, My Credit Card Comparison Chart. This is an opportunity for training participants to compare at least 3 cards side by side based on the elements and the features and the terms that are listed on the left column of the worksheet. If time permits, give them an opportunity to maybe start doing that in your training session. However, it's probably best to have them do it after training so that they can go get credit card offers to actually compare. Our next section, unsecured and secured credit cards, slide number 20. This is really about a comparison between the two. Most of the content here is about the characteristics of a secured credit card in terms of the requirement for collateral. That means a deposit. There are other considerations here with these types of credit cards. In addition to, it's easier to qualify because they are putting down collateral. They have lower credit limits than unsecured credit cards. And some participants may apply for secured credit cards if they're unable to get an unsecured card. So you'll have that discussion. Then when it comes down to applying credit card, that's the next topic, slide number 22. You're going to give them some discussion points on applying for a credit card, and also making note that people have the option to opt out of receiving certain mailed credit card offers. So you'll be showing them the opt-out information as shown on slide 22 at the bottom, the phone number and the website. Slide number 23 are key terms in the application process, and so you'll go over those, and of course giving people an opportunity to get familiar with those. And then we wrap up the section with restating our key takeaway: know how credit cards work so you can more effectively shop around for one that meets your needs. Section 2, managing your credit card. In this section, participants will be able to find key pieces of information on credit card statement, explain how different payment strategies affect the time needed to pay off a credit card and the cost of borrowing, and list ways to manage a credit card effectively. Slide 25 introduces the section. Slide 26 is the key takeaway. Credit cards can be convenient, but manage them carefully to keep costs down and avoid damage to your credit. Starting out with this topic is reading a credit card statement. And this is really good information for you to share with participants around billing, reading and understanding the statements, the billing cycle, the account summary, the payment information, all of that. These are a lot of different elements to the credit card statement, but you're helping training participants to see this and to have a discussion around what these really mean. Slide number 26 gets into more items on a credit card statement. There are additional things credit counseling statement, notice of changes to your interest rate, and other information that will be there, again, to bring familiarity to training participants. And that's going to lead you into the try it activity, finding items in a credit card statement. Now, this is going to be a scavenger hunt that you're going to have participants actually look at the question that's on the worksheet and then refer to the actual example credit card statement so that they can actually find the answers and put them on the worksheet. And as you can see here in your guide, you have the sample credit card statement. And of course, this is going to really be what is needed to complete this activity. And here is the answer key for the questions. And so it's worthwhile to review all of the information. And if you have time, to make sure that everyone in the room is able to find all of the different elements here in this particular activity. Again, it's really going to help them to understand how to look at their own credit card statements. The next topic, steps for managing your credit card. On slide 30, it gives some bullet points, some prompts that you can say regarding credit cards in terms of managing them. Slide 31 is a table that's really going to help training participants to understand the impact of paying only the minimum payment. You have a TV, car repair, and furniture purchase, and you'll notice here that they all are at 18%. And the table shows the total amount that they're going to pay for the item and the amount of time it's going to take. And as you notice, the furniture, $2,500, is going to take 23 years to pay off. Now, the next slide, slide 32, actually uses that same example, and it shows what happens if you pay more than a minimum payment. And this is where your discussion is going to get a little interesting here, because it shows the first line, $2,500, 18% minimum payment, 23 years to pay off, $5,363 in interest, total amount paid $7,863. The next line down adds $24 to the minimum payment, and the line underneath that adds $41 to the minimum payment. Both of these examples significantly reduces the amount of years it takes to pay off that particular debt, and of course, it also reduces the amount of interest being paid and the total amount paid overall. That is really what this is illustrating, and so have a discussion around that. There's prompts here to really help training participants to understand, to save money, they can pay off their balances earlier by simply making more than the minimum payment. Slide 33 gets into how payments are applied to the balances. The payments are applied differently based on where the interest rates are segmented with the actual balances. Now, this is an important piece of this because training participants need an understanding how different parts of their balances may have different interest rates. And so credit card companies actually apply payments to these balances differently. And the information there is listed here in the bullet points. Please share that with your training participants. And then the final activity is the apply it, tips for using my credit card. Slide 34 lists 2 pages of tips that you'll want training participants to take a look at. Then what they're going to do, they're going to check off any things on the list that they want to start or continue doing. And this is going to be great because there's lots of great examples here on these 2 pages that will get them thinking about how they could use their credit cards. And here is these same tips here listed for you in your instructor guide. And closing out the section, we have the key takeaway. Credit cards can be convenient, but manage them carefully to keep costs down and avoid damage to your credit. All right, so as we close this module, remember the key takeaways. You'll reiterate that to your training participants. And of course, the take action part. You want to emphasize this. here because every module has the same take action activity. So it's important not to skip it, even if you can only spare a couple of minutes. The participants will remember what you just presented a lot easier if they could write down a few action steps. Knowledge isn't enough, action is required. And after you have them complete that, then you want to administer the post-training survey. And as such, you're going to show slide 37. Your answer key for both the pre and post-training surveys are here on page 43. And then on page 44, we see how Module 9 fits into the overall Money Smart for Adults training. And that's going to conclude our overview of Money Smart for Adults Module 9 using credit cards. Thank you.